The weekly grind is here to stay for the next 3 months across Texas. As after the opening week, teams settle into a schedule and look forward to Friday night when every game can alter the outcome of an entire season. We saw extraordinary performances in every classification in week 2, and now we pay tribute to those who rose above the rest. It's the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show, and it starts right now. Keep in mind, we celebrate those that rose above the rest, not only on the field, but in the classroom and in the community as well, as we welcome you to our 3-pillared Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show, starring the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, Greg Tepper, who not only got coached to say Crazy Town Banana Pants live on air last week, but did indeed agree that week 2 was Crazy Town Banana Pants.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially the small school level. And you saw a lot of chaos across the state as far as ranked teams going down. Some which we may have seen coming, but others that we definitely didn't. Like Pottsboro beating Gunter kind of came out of left field. But overall, we're starting to get a shape of what Texas high school football looks like, and week 3 will provide yet another data point. But first, let's put a bow on what was a really fun week 2.
Yeah, in the meantime, Reg Samples was at it again with the #1 ranked Duncanville Panthers. He's still fueled by that state championship loss, mind you. So these have been entertaining outings. They met South Oak Cliff last week, and on the first offensive play, Tristan Smith would find that hole and turn the Jets on. That's a 53-yarder to the house. Duncanville strikes first. More from the Panthers, this time Suavion Pursley Suavemente getting in on the style points there as well. Duncanville in control. Sock driving, looking to stay in it when Cameron Davis picked the pocket. Paul Pickens, appropriately named Pickens, takes that one back to the score. Duncanville defeats Sock to 59-3.
What about down to the Houston area where Katy was taking on Atascocita, their second game against a ranked opponent in as many weeks. Katy came out firing. Bronson McClellan drops a dime to Steven Stiles. Hauls it in. Katy takes an early lead, and then they would put the ball in the hands of Ronald Hoff, and that is a name you're going to need to know. 4th and 1. Hoff is like, I'll take 1 plus 35. That adds up to 36, and that adds up to 6. Touchdown there late in the game. It's Hoff again, and he was going Hoff with the touchdown. Get it? Katy rolls the Eagles 56-14. Wow.
Tep, the Allen Eagles are still unblemished in their stadium, or at least were entering this game with Dickinson, right? Well, the Gators would strike first in the Eagles' house with that deep one from Mike Welch to Julian Aguirre, who beats the defender. Dickinson on the board first, but you know Allen always responds. That catch there specifically by Blaine Green. Eagles begin to soar, as this time it's Bryson Green getting in on the action and sealing the deal. Allen would go on to remain undefeated at Allen Eagles Stadium, 38-24. So, Tep, Allen, Katy, and Duncanville, 2-0 starts to the season, remain in the top 3.
Yeah, they're top 3, and the rest of it a little bit chalky. Geyer with a very impressive win over Cedar Hill last week. They draw North Crowley this week. South Lake Carroll going out to the Permian Basin, take on Odessa Permian. Keep an eye on Converse Jets, and it may be that the Rockets are back under Coach Rodney Williams.
Well, and keep in mind, week 2 also featured a couple of games that were just bigger than football. One took place in West Texas when El Paso Franklin met Odessa Permian in a game honoring the victims of the recent El Paso and Odessa shootings. And while our Built Ford Tough Class 6A Player of the Week, Danny Walther, the senior quarterback for that Franklin squad, led them to the victory, Tepper, with a video game-like stat line nonetheless. He also was the one that helped present the El Paso-Odessa strong sign in that game.
Yeah, it was obviously a big night there at Ratliff Stadium in Odessa. And you know, you pay attention to obviously the bigger issues, but even when you're just talking about the game, boy, it was awful impressive what Danny Walther was able to do. Remember, El Paso teams do not come to Odessa and win. Plain and simple, it just doesn't happen. But this was a really impressive win, fueled by, I think, extremely sharp passing. 24-31, you know, that's more than 77% completion percentage. 299 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he did a lot of his damage, effective damage on the ground. 2 timely rushing touchdowns. This was a guy who was in complete command of this offense and guided Franklin not only to a win over Odessa Permian, but also a 2-0 start. And I think there's a fair chance that Franklin ends up being the best team in El Paso, and Danny Walther, our Week 2 Built for Tough Player of the Week, is a big reason why.
Would love to see an El Paso team playing deep into December. To Class 5A we go, my friend.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at some highlights. Richmond Foster taking on Fort Bend Travis, state-ranked Richmond Foster. They're going to take care of business, right? Tigers, though, would score first for Travis's Andre Smith. The junior takes it up the middle for a score. Then more from the Tigers. Check out this amazing one-handed catch. Parker Washington gives Fort Bend Travis a 7-point lead. Then fourth quarter, more from Washington. Doing all the work here, outrunning defenders all the way to the end zone. Fort Bend Travis is 2-0 with an upset win over state-ranked Richmond Foster, 49-35.
Well, I'll take you that and see you one better. Frisco Reedy and the Colony, and it was Miles Price. The Price was right to first drive. Mickey Harrington hits him on the screen, and he would do the rest. That's 62 yards to the end zone. 6 points. Cougars up 7-0 after the extra kick, and Price again, this time in double coverage, going 61 to. He would account for 277 all-purpose yards and 2 scores. The Colony wins easily against Reedy, 48-19. Is the Colony back? Is the Colony back, my friend?
Yeah, they're certainly looking back. Just take a look at our Dave Campbell's Texas Football 5A Division I Top 10, where it's Highland Park at the top, although they draw a huge game with Frisco Lone Star this week. Lufkin gets a big win. They bounce back after their loss to Longview. The team to keep an eye on, though, Shadow Creek. If you thought they were going away, I have bad news for you. Shadow Creek is going to be around for a long time. That new quarterback, Kyron Jones, looking very good.
All right, we'll keep an eye on him. Also, keep an eye on our Built for Tough Class 5A Player of the Week, and that would be senior wide receiver Chris Carpenter of Jacksonville, who helped the Indians rally from down 20 at the half tub. He recovered a fumble in the opening kickoff of that second half and later recovered an onside kick. Carpenter ended the game with a game-clinching interception to beat Palestine by 1.
You may be asking yourself, hey, what is 2005 NL Cy Young Award winner Chris Carpenter doing at Jacksonville? This is a different one, and he is very, very talented. The thing I really like about him is that when he gets the ball in his hands, that's not the end of the play, that's the beginning of the play, because when he knows what to do from there. He's always open above his head, as Rick Renner is fond of saying, and they just throw it up to the big man. He goes up and hauls it in over defender, and this is just a highlight reel type game. You know, whenever you're bringing in 13 catches, that's awful impressive. But when you're doing it for 275 yards, these aren't dink and dunk passes. They are going deep to Chris Carpenter early and often, and by the way, getting it done in special teams as well. You know, Jacksonville is celebrating the reopening of the Tomato Bowl this year, and they're going to have a lot to celebrate there when they get performances like this from Chris Carpenter.
I prefer the Tomato Bowl. Also, they beat Palestine, home of one Adrian Peterson, who's back, and I, of course, dropped him from my fantasy team. But that's for another show, as we are just getting started here on the Built for Tough Player of the Week show. Because speaking of rallying with backs against the wall, wait till you see our 4A Player of the Week, as well as we show you why our 3A winner prefers the name Woody. Highlights next. The Built for Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Hey, television viewers, don't forget the Texas Ford dealers are looking for outstanding student athletes to be recognized as the Built for Tough Player of the Week. If you want Aaron Hardigan to say your favorite player's name on this show, you have to nominate your gridiron hero at playeroftheweek.com.
Well read, Greg Tepper. And let me ask you, do you think we had any nominees on the field when Argyle met La Vega last week?
I would bet maybe one or two people stood out in that game, yes.
Well, I'll let you, the viewer, decide. Let's take you to the highlights, because it was a rematch of last year's 4A Division I quarterfinal when La Vega got the Eagles. With the first quarter here, Eagles with a little repayment. Bo Hogaboom and Cole Kirkpatrick making it work. Mid-second quarter, Argyle up 28-14. More Hogaboom, this time to Jasper Lott, because he's got a bevy of receivers to hit all season long. This time, though, he wants to meet Kirkpatrick again, because he's another, baseball player on that state baseball championship winning team with Hogaboom and muscling his way in for the score. Argyle would lead 21 at the half and hold on to win 49-34. 35. Sweet revenge, but let's see if they can do it in the playoffs when they will likely meet La Vega again, Teb.
All they did in the 4A Division I rankings of TexasFootball.com is rise to number 1, leapfrogging Carthage to get there. They have looked very, very good so far, but look, it's going to be a slugfest in 4A Division I. This is the land of giants. I still think that Argyle and La Vega are going to play for a second time. I'm interested to see how a rematch goes. But make no mistake, I think that was a really important win for Argyle because of the mental aspect, to prove that they can go on the road to Belmead, to Willie Williams Stadium, and pull out a win over the state champs. I thought that was really, really important for Todd Rogers' squad.
Big win for Argyle and a big week for our Class 4A Built for Tough Player of the Week, who's got to be junior running back and defensive back Zachary Carrera Jr. of Hidalgo Early College Tech. So here's the great thing about Carrera. Dislocated his finger moments before the game. So he earned this with 9 fingers, essentially. Didn't stop him from taking 28 carries for 391 and 4 touchdowns. That's an average of 14 a carry, helping the Pirates rally back in a comeback victory in the second half. Yeah,
you're going to Hidalgo. You're going to have to go way south to find where Hidalgo High School is. But that is an awful impressive line from Carrera, and not just because of the numbers, right? Not just because of running for nearly 400 yards, but also the workload. You don't see a lot of guys get nearly 30 carries in a game anymore, but they needed every bit of it in their win over Lyford. He's a big reason why they were able to get that win over another team down there from South Texas, and obviously a deserving winner of the Built for Tough Player of the Week.
Hey, congrats to Zachary Haynes, our Class 3A, Zachary Carrera, rather, our Class 4A Built for a Tough Player of the Week, as we roll along to our Class 3A, who's Zacharias Haynes. And I think I nailed that, but I would prefer to go by his nickname Woody, and I think he would as well. Tep, why?
Because I don't know. I don't know why he goes by Woody, but I'll tell you that he brought the wood in their big win over Jewett-Leon. 400 yards rushing and 6 tackles, such touchdowns. And oh, by the way, he was playing both ways, broke up 3 passes. But this kid was off to the races all night. What I love is that he's just running through arm tackles. This is a guy who has no use for your arm tackles, sir. You better bring the heat if you're going to try to bring him down. But he was really impressive in their big win over Jewett-Leon. And this is a guy that Coach Brad Hodges is really high on. He's a 4-year starter. He's a hard-nosed runner, and he's a hard hitter on defense. This is a guy that you're going to have to deal with. They're in 3A Division II, and the Fighting Owls looking very good so far. 6-4 last year. They feel like they can make a step, and Hayes is a big reason why. Woody certainly brought the wood there, and it was awful impressive to see. I love just the tough running. A guy who's able to put his head down and break through those arm tackles. That's impressive stuff.
Well, I did read on the Twitter that is indeed why he goes by Woody. He lays the wood.
Oh, really?
And he saw Zachary Carrera's 14 yards of carry and raised him 21 a touch there. So congrats to both Zachary and Zacharias, our Class 4A and 3A Built for Tough Players of the Week, respectively. Up next, a special guest joins us. He might also be our 2A winner this week, and reigning winner at that. We'll explain. Plus hear from him on the other side.
The Built for Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Welcome back to the Built for Tough Player of the Week show as we unveil our Class 2A Player of the Week. And you may remember the name as he was last year's Week 6 winner. Yes, Garrison's senior running back Sebastian Porter, no stranger to the honor, and undoubtedly so, as the kid does it in all 3 facets of the game, ultimately icing the deal this week on special teams, not only blocking a field goal, but returning a missed Crockett field goal. 108 yards to the house with the go-ahead touchdown with 1:22 to play. I am out of breath just reading the stat line. I can't imagine what it was like for head coach Larry Prince watching it as we welcome him and our Class 2A Player of the Week winner to the show. First of all, Sebastian, a congratulations on the honor again, my friend. I'm guessing you weren't really surprised after last week's performance that you were receiving this week?
And I was kind of surprised when I won. I really wasn't expecting it this week, but I just had a okay game, I guess.
Yeah, I'll say you had an okay game, Sebastian. You know, one thing, obviously, whenever you do the running the ball the way you did, the defense, and then the special teams, is there one part of your game that you had last week that you're particularly proud of?
We had a great special teams games because they came out and they blocked. We had a missed fumble on the opening punt, and they scored. So I knew we had to come back with that in a big way.
Listen, Sebastian, take me back to that kick six, the missed kick six for you. Walk me through that moment. How did that happen, and what were you thinking through it?
Okay, well, at the end of the game, and I was telling them to go block it, and I was thinking that because he missed 3 field goals that day, I think. I said, maybe I can get lucky and catch one. So I go to the back of the end zone, and I see him kick the ball, and like it came straight to me. So I catch it and I take off right, but I see there's more people left, so I come back left, and my team started pulling back, and I had great blocks.
Coach Prince, we hear all the time from coaches that your job gets real easy when you got some superstars on your team. You certainly have one sitting to your right, but you're the guy who gets to see him practice every day. What is it about Sebastian that makes him special?
Well, he has the same mentality in practice that he does in the game. He's a leader by example. He's a vocal leader. It makes game planning pretty easy. And it's not just Sebastian. We've got several really good football players on this team.
Well, it's more of a question of what can't Sebastian Porter do. I mean, you can hoop, play baseball, run track, not to mention you're the charter member of the Garrison High School Gentlemen's League. For those that aren't familiar with what that is, what exactly is it, and how can Greg Tepper join?
It's a group of athletes and people who want to better themselves and being gentlemen, not only for lady attribute, but to the community and helping others.
Well, that's fantastic. Obviously, the Built for Tough Player of the Week show honors excellence both on and off the field. Coach, I'm interested. This is a guy who's been an integral part of your program for a while. How do you think you've seen his game change over the years, especially now into his senior year?
Wow. He started for us at linebacker as a freshman. We knew coming out of junior high that we had a pretty special football player on our hands, and he was, as far as offensively, we had some really good running backs that he got his few carries as a freshman, more as a sophomore, and then last year he really carried the load for us offensively as far as running the football. And when we've seen him develop as a player offensively, defensively, he's around the football every snap.
Well, you're lucky to have him on your side, at least next week when you meet St. Augustine, huh? I know you got him at their place last year after they shut you out the year before. Coach, what are you expecting in this week's rematch?
I'm expecting a great high school football game. I think this is, personally, this is what high school football is all about. Two really good teams, good hard-nosed football, teams that know each other, and teams that are going to get out there and get after each other.
Well, listen, he is the definition of a Garrison Bulldog. Sebastian Porter, our Class 2A Built for Tough Player of the Week. Sebastian, again, congrats to you again on the honor. And, Coach, best of luck to you and the guys this week. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
All right, there he goes, Class 2A's title guy this week. And keep in mind, again, we're honoring all facets of the game for each winner as we roll out our private school Built for a Tough Player of the Week this year. And that's got to go to another senior quarterback, Josh Johnson of Houston Second Baptist. He's a pro-style Elite 11 invite, Tepper. And, boy, last week doing it with the arm. He now has 8 passing touchdowns on the year, and I believe they have outscored their first 2 opponents 82-6.
Yeah, he's been amazing, and the thing that I really like about him is he's very accurate. When you take a look at the numbers in that perspective, he's been very sharp. 73% passing in their win over St. John's last week, and this is a guy that's been on our radar for a little bit. He's a pro-style quarterback. You mentioned it. I think colleges are starting to take notice of him, but the thing that stands out to me is that he's doing this in wins. He's doing this for the betterment of his team. These aren't empty numbers. He's getting them into winning positions. Right now, Second Baptist is up to number number 6 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football's computer rankings at TexasFootball.com, and you can see why. Not only are they winning, but they're winning emphatically, and the offense has really been carrying the load early. And Josh Johnson is a guy that I think we're going to hear more and more about as the season wears on. You know, always a lot of talent in the private school ranks down there in the Houston area, and Josh Johnson may be the name to know this year.
He leads the Eagles to a soaring shutout, if you will, over St. John's, and Josh Johnson is our private school Built for Tough Player of the Week. Tup loves when I get those puns in there, and he'll love when we roll out our games to watch this week. We'll be covering them on Football Friday. What you need to know after this.
The Built for Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
And keep in mind, Teb, we celebrate those that excel on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. But boy, I'll tell you, the guys we're keeping an eye on here really bring it on the gridiron.
2 guys to keep an eye on. Corpus Christi Miller, or quarterback Andrew Miller, has been sensational. A big reason why we think that they are on the rise in the Corpus area. And Rockdale quarterback Jace Robinson. Rockdale, Troy, and Cameron Yo play in the same district. That's going to be a 3-way slugfest.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of offense there, which will be fun to watch. Also, we hope a lot of offense will be in a few games that we're keeping an eye on this week. And we'll, of course, have you covered for our 5-hour continuous coverage each and every Friday night here on Fox Sports Southwest. Who do you like, Teb?
I mean, all these games are great. Lone Star, Highland Park. Lone Star trying to be the first Texas team to walk into Highlander Stadium and beat the Scots since 1998. And West Orange Stark going to Newton to take on the number 1 team in the defending state champs in Newton. St. Augustine and Garrison's going to be a lot of fun, too. Two great running big games there. The West Orange Stark, look, the chain gang defense may be young, but they have a ton of tradition going up against what is an absolutely reloaded Newton rushing attack with a pair of sophomore running backs that are going to dazzle you. This game was really exciting last year. Figures to be another big game down there in the Golden Triangle.
Andrew Johnston filling the shoes of his late father and feeling some inspired football to be played this week. Our Sarah Merrifield will be live from that game with coverage. Meanwhile, Rick Renner has Lone Star over Highland Park. Although I went with, listen, Randy Allen, there's no reason Randy Allen should have made it to as many state title games as he did with some of the, the talent that he had, but here he is, one of the best coaches in the state of Texas. I always put my money on him.
I don't pick against Randy Allen at Highlander Stadium.
And with that, that'll do it for our Built for Tough Player of the Week show. We'll leave you inspired following all of our winners here today. Again, a congrats to Danny Walther, Chris Carpenter, Zachary Carrera Jr., Zacharias Haynes, Sebastian Porter, and Josh Johnson. And look forward to seeing you next week.